What if I told you that the age of your body has nothing to do with the age of your soul? You see, there are those among us who carry ancient wisdom despite their youthful appearance. Think about it. Have you ever felt strangely out of place in this modern world? As if you're remembering rather than learning? This disconnection isn't accidental. The old soul walks differently through life, observing where others merely see, questioning where others simply accept. Let me tell you something. Civilization has taught us to measure age by orbits around the sun. But what if the true measure lies in the depth of your understanding, in your relationship with time itself? You might be younger than you appear, or perhaps far, far older. Age is a curious concept in our modern world. We celebrate youth. We fear aging. We count the years as if they tell the complete story of who we are. But time is not merely a linear progression marked by birthdays and anniversaries. Time exists in layers, in cycles, in the wisdom accumulated across experiences that transcend the physical form you currently inhabit. The body you wear may be 20, 30, or 40 years in development, but the consciousness that dwells within it might carry the imprint of countless cycles beyond what your birth certificate suggests. Have you ever encountered someone whose insights seem impossibly profound for their years? A child who speaks with startling clarity about matters of life and death. A teenager who intuitively grasps philosophical concepts that learned scholars spend decades attempting to master. A young adult who seems strangely at home amidst ancient traditions, while their peers chase the newest distractions. These are not anomalies or prodigies in the conventional sense. They are old souls navigating young vessels. Have you ever felt a strange familiarity with times long past, cultures you've never physically encountered? As if some part of you recognizes what should be entirely foreign. This recognition goes beyond intellectual fascination. It resonates at a level that logic alone cannot explain. Have you ever sensed that you're somehow out of sync with the preoccupations of your generation, finding yourself naturally drawn to timeless questions while others seem consumed by momentary concerns? Not from a place of judgment or superiority, but from a fundamental difference in what captures your attention and nourishes your spirit. Have you ever known truths without being taught, understood patterns without studying them, recognized wisdom without it being explained? As if remembering rather than learning for the first time. These experiences are not imagination or coincidence. They are echoes of a soul that has traveled far and gathered much before entering your present form. The concept of old souls isn't merely poetic or metaphorical. It points to a profound reality about consciousness and its journey through existence. Your essence carries imprints and understandings from beyond your current lifetime, influencing how you perceive and navigate the world today. There are 7 signs that reveal when an ancient soul inhabits a younger form. 7 distinct patterns that manifest when wisdom beyond years resides within a recently formed vessel. Like an ancient redwood seed sprouting in new soil, carrying within its tiny form the genetic memory of towering majesty. Like a river that appears young at its surface but follows channels carved over millennia. Like stars whose light reaches us now, but originated in times long past. The old soul exists simultaneously in multiple dimensions of time, physically present in today while spiritually connected to the eternal. The first sign appears in how differently you experience time itself, feeling oddly nostalgic for eras you never physically lived through, sensing patterns in history that others miss, finding comfort in ancient philosophies that speak to you with immediate relevance. The second emerges in your relationship with nature and simplicity, an intuitive understanding of natural rhythms, and a curious discomfort with the artificial and excessively complex aspects of modern existence. The third manifests in your unusual comfort with solitude and self-knowledge, finding peace in your own company and possessing an awareness of your inner landscape that typically requires decades of introspection. The fourth reveals itself through your innate understanding of human nature, seeing through social masks and performances to the core motivations that have driven humanity across centuries. The fifth shows in how naturally you step into the role of teacher or guide, regardless of your chronological age or formal credentials, sharing insights that help others navigate their paths. The sixth appears in your unique perspective on death and mortality, carrying less fear and more acceptance of life's impermanence than is common in youth. The seventh and perhaps most profound sign emerges in your sense of specific purpose or mission, a knowing that your life serves something beyond individual achievement or conventional success. But here's the thing. Being an old soul in a young body is not always the blessing it might appear to be. In a culture that celebrates youth primarily for its beauty and vitality rather than as a vessel for wisdom, the old soul often finds themselves profoundly alienated. You may speak a language others cannot hear, value what others overlook, and question what others blindly accept. This disconnection creates a unique form of loneliness, a sense of being a temporal immigrant in an era not quite your own. The very perception that gives you insight also creates distance between you and many of your contemporaries. Our modern world has constructed systems that reward quick thinking over deep contemplation, immediate reaction over patient observation, specialization over holistic understanding. These structures often leave the old soul feeling like a stranger in strange lands, navigating institutions and social expectations designed for minds that operate differently from their own. The youngest bodies often carry the oldest wisdom, yet find themselves most alienated in a world that worships youth but craves wisdom. This paradox creates both challenge and opportunity for the old soul journeying through contemporary life. Your presence here serves a purpose greater than your personal comfort or belonging. You bridge worlds, spanning time through your very being, connecting ancient knowing to present challenges in ways uniquely possible through your existence. Now, let's explore the first sign. An unusual relationship with time emerges early in the life of an old soul. While others experience time as a straightforward arrow moving from past to future, the old soul perceives it more as a spiral or a vast ocean with currents and depths. They sense the cyclical nature of existence, recognizing patterns that others miss because they've witnessed these cycles before, if not in this lifetime, then in some deeper layer of consciousness. This manifests in peculiar ways. A child who feels inexplicably drawn to historical periods, not as mere curiosity, but with a sense of recognition. A teenager who reads ancient philosophy and responds not with the expected academic distance, but with the comfortable familiarity of revisiting known wisdom. A young adult who experiences powerful déjà vu moments that go beyond simple neurological misfiring and instead suggest memories from times their current form never witnessed. I once knew a young woman who, from her earliest years, felt a profound connection to classical Greece. Not the superficial interest of someone captivated by mythology or architecture, but something far more intimate. She described it as a homesickness for a place she had never physically been. When she first encountered Platonic dialogues at 16, she didn't struggle with the concepts as her classmates did. She nodded in recognition, sometimes even anticipating conclusions before reading them, as if remembering rather than learning. Her professors were baffled by her intuitive grasp of ancient Greek thought. They attributed it to unusual intelligence, but she knew differently. She was simply remembering what her soul already knew. When asked why she spent so much time with these ancient texts rather than engaging with contemporary entertainment, she would smile gently and say it felt like coming home after a long journey. This relationship with time creates a unique perspective. The old soul watches civilizations rise and fall within their mind's eye, sensing the impermanence of what others consider fixed and eternal. They see fashions, technologies, and ideologies as waves on the surface of deeper currents. This vision isn't pessimistic. It's simply expansive, extending beyond the immediate moment that captures most people's complete attention. They will feel it when they encounter wisdom from ages past and recognize it instantly as truth. They will know it when historical events echo with personal significance beyond intellectual interest. They will understand it without being taught when temporal boundaries dissolve in moments of deep insight or creativity. This unusual relationship with time offers profound gifts. The old soul rarely feels entirely trapped in momentary difficulties, instinctively sensing the broader context beyond present struggles. Yet it also creates challenges. How does one fully engage with the urgency of now while simultaneously perceiving it from the perspective of centuries? How does the old soul explain their recognition of patterns that others cannot yet see? The second sign manifests as a profound connection to nature and simplicity. The old soul gravitates toward natural settings not merely for their beauty, but because something essential is recognized there, something remembered. The rhythms of nature speak a language that the deeper self understands implicitly. The cycle of seasons, the patterns of growth and decay, the interdependence of all living things, these aren't abstract concepts, but lived realities that resonate at the soul level. You see, this connection isn't merely aesthetic preference or environmental consciousness, though it may express itself through these channels. It's a recognition of home, of fundamental truth, of systems that have endured while civilizations have risen and fallen countless times. The old soul walks in a forest and feels the ancient conversation between soil, roots, trunk, branch, leaf, and sky. Sits by the ocean and recognizes the rhythmic breathing of the planet. Watches stars and perceives not cold distance but intimate relationship across space and time. This recognition creates an almost inevitable discomfort with excessive materialism and artificial environments. The old soul in a shopping mall might find themselves thinking, why all this frantic acquisition of things that will be discarded and forgotten? How strange to replace the stars with fluorescent lights, the changing sky with unchanging ceiling tiles, the natural cycle of day and night with perpetual commercial twilight. What are we truly seeking in these temples of consumption that we couldn't find in a moment of quiet attention to what already exists? This discomfort isn't judgment, but genuine bewilderment at the collective choice to move ever further from what sustains us most deeply. The old soul typically seeks simplicity not from ascetic discipline, but from natural inclination. They find richness in experiences rather than possessions, depth in relationships rather than transactions, fulfillment in creation rather than consumption. The third sign appears as an unusual comfort with solitude and remarkable self-knowledge. From early years, the old soul often prefers their own company, not from antisocial tendency, but because internal worlds prove as rich and compelling as external ones. They develop a relationship with themselves that others may not achieve until much later in life, if ever. When was the last time you felt completely at peace while alone? Not merely tolerating solitude or distracting yourself from it, but experiencing it as a nourishing, complete state of being. Does your solitude energize rather than deplete you? Do you emerge from time alone with greater clarity and presence to offer others? For the old soul, solitude is not the absence of connection, but a different form of it. A connection to deeper currents of thought, to intuitive knowing, to the wisdom that emerges in quiet rather than noise. They learn early to distinguish between their authentic voice and the echoes of social conditioning, between genuine needs and manufactured wants, between their truth and convenient illusions. Society often misinterprets this self-sufficiency. Our culture pathologizes what might be wisdom, diagnosing as disorder what could be depth. The child who prefers thoughtful observation to constant activity becomes a problem to solve. The teenager who seeks meaningful solitude raises concern in an age that equates constant social engagement with health. The young adult who knows themselves well enough to make unconventional choices faces pressure to conform to expectations designed for different souls in different stages of journey. Yet this capacity for solitude and self-knowledge becomes a crucial foundation for the old soul's contribution to collective life. Without it, they would lose access to the very perspective that makes their presence valuable. Their comfort with their own depths allows them to hold space for others exploring theirs. Their self-knowledge enables authentic connection rather than the performance of relationship that characterizes much of social interaction. These three signs interweave, creating both profound insight and genuine suffering for the old soul in youth. The different relationship with time, the connection to nature, the comfort with solitude all combine to create a perspective simultaneously valuable and isolating. Misunderstood by peers, underestimated by elders, pressured to conform to patterns that feel foreign, sensing truths they cannot fully articulate, carrying wisdom not yet earned in this lifetime, but somehow present nonetheless. Moving through environments designed for different sensibilities, finding few mirrors for their experience, questioning their own perceptions when no one reflects them back. Think about it. These differences in perception create both the challenges and the gifts of the old soul. They suffer from the disconnection, yet gain unprecedented insight from their unique vantage point. They struggle to translate their knowing into language others can receive, yet develop profound compassion for the different journeys around them. They feel the weight of seeing deeply, yet discover the freedom that comes with expanded perspective. What if I told you there are even deeper indications of an ancient soul? Beyond the relationship with time, nature, and solitude lie signs that reveal not just how old souls perceive the world, but how they interact with it and understand their place within it. These manifestations often emerge as the old soul matures, becoming more pronounced as they develop the confidence to express their authentic nature despite societal expectations. The fourth sign appears as an innate understanding of human nature. Old souls observe humanity with a curious blend of fascination and recognition. They see patterns in behavior that others miss, not because they've studied psychology, but because they've witnessed these same patterns across time. They recognize the eternal human struggles beneath our contemporary costumes. The pursuit of status, the fear of insignificance, the longing for connection, the terror of mortality. While others might be surprised by human behavior, the old soul rarely is. This understanding manifests as an ability to see beneath social performances. While many are captivated by the roles people play, the old soul perceives the motivations behind the mask. They notice the insecurity driving the braggart, the wound behind the cruelty, the fear beneath the aggression, the loneliness behind excessive ambition. This perception isn't judgmental. It's simply clear, unobscured by the distractions that capture most attention. Let me tell you something. This understanding creates both profound compassion and unavoidable distance. Compassion because the old soul recognizes that all behavior, however destructive or confusing, emerges from fundamentally human needs and fears. They see the child within the adult, the pain beneath the protection, the universal within the particular. Yet this same clarity creates distance. How does one fully participate in social games once their mechanics become transparent? How does one engage with collective dramas when their recurring nature is so evident? The old soul learns to navigate this paradox, developing genuine compassion without condescension, engaging authentically without complete immersion in temporary concerns. They become careful observers of humanity while remaining active participants in its unfolding story. Their understanding allows them to forgive what others condemn and to maintain perspective when others become consumed by momentary circumstances. The fifth sign emerges as a natural tendency toward teaching or guiding others, regardless of age or formal position. The old soul finds themselves in mentorship roles throughout life, often beginning in childhood, when they counsel friends with wisdom that seems beyond their years. This isn't sought or manufactured. It happens organically as others sense something in their presence, a depth of understanding that invites trust and openness. What makes this guidance unique is its lack of dogmatism. The old soul does not teach from rigid certainty, but from a place of humble recognition. They share perspectives rather than absolute truths, possibilities rather than fixed paths. They understand intuitively that each soul must find its own way, and that wisdom cannot be imposed but only awakened. Yet beneath this humility lies quiet confidence. Not in their personal superiority, but in the universal wisdom they've somehow accessed and continue to explore. They will guide without needing recognition, finding satisfaction in the growth they witness rather than in acknowledgement of their role. They will share insights that arise not from intellectual accumulation, but from a deeper knowing that transcends ordinary learning. They will illuminate paths for others still finding their way, holding up a light not to direct, but to reveal possibilities that might otherwise remain unseen. This teaching function carries both fulfillment and responsibility. The old soul recognizes the impact of their words, understanding that what they share shapes how others perceive their own journey. They develop discernment about when to speak and when to remain silent, when to offer perspective, and when to allow others the growth that comes through personal discovery. The sixth sign manifests as an unusual perspective on death and mortality. Where many spend their lives in active avoidance of death, constructing elaborate distractions from life's impermanence, the old soul carries a different relationship with endings. Not morbid fascination, but calm acceptance. Not denial, but integration. They understand intuitively that death is not opposite to life, but part of its complete expression. Not failure, but transformation. This perspective emerges early, often puzzling parents and teachers when a child speaks of mortality with unusual clarity and acceptance. The old soul perceives the cycle rather than just the ending, the continuity rather than just the loss. They sense that consciousness transcends its temporary forms, not as abstract belief, but as intuitive recognition. This relationship with mortality creates a particular approach to living. If death is not an enemy to fear, but a natural transition to accept, then life becomes neither desperate accumulation before the end, nor reckless disregard for its value. Instead, each moment gains significance precisely because of its impermanence. Each experience becomes valuable not despite but because of its temporary nature. Each relationship precious in its unique, unrepeatable configuration. The old soul lives with a peculiar paradox. By accepting the inevitability of ending, they become more fully present to what exists now. By embracing impermanence, they access a relationship with the eternal. By acknowledging limitation, they experience greater freedom within the boundaries of a single lifetime. The seventh and perhaps most profound sign appears as a sense of specific purpose or mission. Unlike many who spend decades searching for meaning or direction, the old soul often carries a clear, inner compass from early years. This isn't necessarily a detailed life plan or specific career path. It's a knowing about the quality of contribution they are here to make, the particular medicine they carry for a world in need of healing. This purpose feels less like external discovery and more like remembering something always known but temporarily forgotten. Like a musical theme that has been playing softly beneath the noise, becoming audible in moments of stillness. The old soul doesn't need to construct an identity or manufacture significance. They need only to align with what already exists at their core, to allow its expression through the unique vessel of their current life. I once knew a man who, from earliest childhood, felt drawn to reconcile apparent opposites. Where others saw conflict between science and spirituality, intellect and intuition, individual and community, he perceived different facets of a unified reality. This reconciling function wasn't a career he chose, but a perspective he brought to every field he entered. Despite pressure to specialize, to choose sides in artificial divisions, he maintained this integrative vision. Through criticism and misunderstanding, through professional setbacks and personal challenges, he continued to build bridges across disciplines and perspectives. Not because he decided this was valuable, but because he couldn't do otherwise. It was the work he was here to do, recognized bone deep since childhood. This sense of purpose provides orientation through difficulty and discouragement. When external rewards are delayed or denied, when the path requires sacrifice or solitude, the old soul continues because the mission responds to a calling beyond personal comfort or conventional success. They measure progress not by external metrics, but by alignment with their essential nature and contribution. Now, I'm not saying these 7 signs manifest identically in every old soul or that someone must display all 7 to qualify for this description. These qualities exist on a spectrum rather than as absolute categories. One soul might express primarily through their relationship with time and nature, while another manifests most clearly through their teaching function and sense of purpose. The signs interweave differently in each unique expression of ancient wisdom through contemporary form. Nor do these qualities guarantee an easy or successful life by conventional standards. Indeed, they often complicate navigation of systems designed for different sensibilities. The old soul may struggle academically while possessing profound wisdom, face career challenges while offering invaluable perspective, experience relationship difficulties while carrying unusual capacity for depth and understanding. You might be wondering what it all means if you recognize these signs within yourself. We carry both privilege and responsibility when we embody ancient wisdom in contemporary form. The recognition itself changes our relationship with existence. No longer can we move through life with the luxury of ignorance or the comfort of limited perspective. Once we acknowledge the depth we carry, we commit to a path of conscious embodiment, neither rejecting our difference nor using it to separate from the human family we've chosen to join. We stand at a unique crossroads in human history. The pace of technological change accelerates, while ancient wisdom recedes from collective awareness. Material abundance exists alongside spiritual poverty. Information proliferates while understanding diminishes. In this context, old souls serve an essential function, not despite but because of their different relationship with existence. We become necessary bridges between remembering and becoming, between timeless insight and evolutionary emergence. This bridging function requires skillful balance. We must honor the ancient knowing we carry while fully participating in the world as it exists now. This is no simple retreat into nostalgia or rejection of contemporary life. The most valuable contribution comes from integration rather than separation, from engaged wisdom rather than isolated purity. The old soul learns to translate eternal principles into language accessible to current understanding, to embody ancient values within modern contexts, to preserve essential knowledge while embracing necessary evolution. Consider how indigenous cultures maintained wisdom through centuries by adapting their forms while preserving their essence. The old soul follows similar patterns, finding fresh expressions for eternal truths, new vessels for ancient medicines, contemporary applications for timeless principles. This adaptation requires discernment about what must be preserved unchanged and what can evolve in form while maintaining integrity of essence. This path contains profound paradoxes that the old soul navigates throughout life. The first emerges as both burden and blessing in seeing deeper patterns beneath surface reality. This perception brings understanding unavailable through conventional perspective. It allows navigation through complexity with unusual clarity, recognition of cycles that others experience as chaotic change, anticipation of consequences that might otherwise arrive as surprise. Yet this same perception creates responsibility that can feel overwhelming. When you see connections others miss, when you recognize destructive patterns as they begin rather than after their effects become undeniable, when you perceive potential long before its manifestation, you cannot claim the innocence of ignorance. You must respond from your knowing, even when this brings difficulty or isolation. The blessing of deeper seeing coexists with the burden of necessary response. The second paradox appears in the simultaneous experience of profound isolation and unusual connection. The old soul often walks alone through significant portions of life, misunderstood by contemporaries, out of step with prevailing values, interested in questions others find irrelevant, unmoved by concerns that capture collective attention. This difference creates inevitable separation, periods of loneliness that can feel like exile from the human community. Yet alongside this isolation exists a quality of connection unavailable through more conventional paths. Connection to wisdom beyond personal experience. Connection to lineages of understanding that transcend cultural boundaries. Connection to others who share similar depth, regardless of external differences in age, background, or circumstance. Connection to the continuous thread of consciousness that runs through all life forms. The very perspective that creates separation also enables communion of unusual depth and scope. The third paradox manifests as the tension between not belonging anywhere completely while having crucial purpose everywhere. The old soul rarely feels entirely at home in any single tradition, community, or worldview. They perceive the partial truth and inevitable limitation in every human attempt to capture reality in concept or institution. This perception prevents full identification or unquestioning belonging that might provide comfortable inclusion. Yet this same perspective enables unique contribution impossible from within any single system. The old soul serves as translator between worldviews, mediator between opposing perspectives, weaver between specialized disciplines that have lost sight of their interconnection. Their lack of complete belonging becomes precisely what allows them to build bridges where others perceive only separation, to create connection where others experience only difference, to maintain wholeness where others see only fragments. Like certain amphibious species that inhabit both water and land, the old soul develops capacity to thrive in multiple environments without fully belonging to any single one. Like plants that grow in boundary zones between forest and meadow, mountain and valley, they occupy transitional spaces where different realities meet. This placement brings challenge but also unique opportunity for function unavailable to those who dwell entirely within a single ecosystem of understanding. This difference inevitably creates suffering, particularly in early life, before the old soul recognizes and accepts their nature. They may attempt to force themselves into conventional patterns that cannot contain their essence, seek belonging through conformity that diminishes their gifts, doubt their own perception when it conflicts with collective agreement. They may experience periods of intense isolation, misunderstanding, or alienation that bring genuine pain and longing for simpler existence. Yet this suffering itself becomes necessary friction that generates wisdom. Like the irritation that compels an oyster to create a pearl, like pressure that transforms carbon into diamond, like the resistance that strengthens muscle. The challenges of the old soul path create capacity that could develop no other way. The very difficulties that might appear as cosmic mistake or cruel fate reveal themselves as essential catalysts for embodying the wisdom they carry. We might understand this process through the ancient alchemical concept of transmutation. The old soul learns to transform isolation into self-knowledge, misunderstanding into compassion, alienation into perspective, difference into unique contribution. Nothing is wasted. Every struggle becomes raw material for developing precisely the medicine they are here to offer. The gold was always present, requiring only the alchemical process to reveal what already exists. So when I ask if the age of your body has anything to do with the age of your soul, I invite you into a more expansive understanding of identity and purpose than our culture typically acknowledges. If you recognize yourself in these descriptions, this recognition brings neither superiority nor burden, but opportunity. The wisdom you carry exists not to elevate you above others, but to serve a world desperately in need of remembering what it has forgotten. Your unique configuration of ancient knowing and contemporary form exists for this moment. You are not an accident of cosmic distribution or a misplacement of consciousness. You are a necessary bridge between what has been and what is becoming. Your struggles make sense within this larger context. Your differences serve purpose beyond personal preference or random variation. Your natural way of being, however challenging to maintain in current conditions, carries medicine that cannot be delivered through more conventional vessels. This understanding transforms how we experience ourselves in daily life. Tasks that might appear mundane reveal their significance within a larger pattern. Challenges that seemed meaningless suffering become intelligible as developmental necessities. Differences that felt like flaws or failures reveal themselves as essential aspects of our function. We learn to trust the intelligence that placed this particular soul in this particular body at this particular moment in human evolution. This recognition calls us to neither arrogance nor false humility. Not arrogance, for we understand that our perception, however expanded beyond conventional boundaries, remains partial and evolving. We know enough to recognize how much remains beyond our current understanding. Not false humility, for we dishonor both the wisdom we carry and those who might benefit from it when we diminish our authentic knowing or hide the medicine we bring. Instead, we cultivate the genuine humility that comes from serving something larger than personal identity or achievement. We focus less on who we are and more on what we are here to offer. We learn to embody the wisdom we carry without ownership or identification, to serve as vessels rather than sources, to maintain enough selfhood to function effectively while remaining transparent to the deeper consciousness that expresses through our unique form. This path is neither easy nor simple. It requires continuous discernment, regular renewal, honest self-reflection, and genuine courage. Yet it offers fulfillment unavailable through more conventional routes. Purpose that transcends personal satisfaction, connection to something larger than individual experience or achievement. We find ourselves participating in the great unfolding of consciousness with clarity about our particular role within it. What ancient wisdom might you be carrying that our world desperately needs right now? Think about it. The very qualities that have made you feel different, the perspectives that have created distance between you and others, the knowing that has sometimes felt like burden rather than blessing. These may contain precisely the medicine our collective requires at this critical juncture. Your unique configuration of old soul in young body might exist not as cosmic accident, but as necessary response